Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So next, let us look at subpart 3, which is analyzing user stories and themes. So you've gone out, you've conducted all these interviews, you have made a lot of observations, you've gone around, thought about it, reflected, gone back and asked more questions, and you're deep into the user's life now, right? You've gotten a pretty good sense of what problems they have, what difficulties, what challenges, and what kind of expectations they have. So now is time to bring all that back and try and make sense out of it. It's a huge amount of information perhaps that you have, and how do you come back and or analyze that? So we are going to be now analyzing our user stories and trying to make themes out of it, because out of the themes will emerge the direction for design. Based on those themes will emerge your design theme, the theme for your design. Okay, so analyzing user stories and themes. So you might go out and you will have taken notes like this, right? Very detailed notes. You've written a lot of thoughts in there. There's some diagrams you've made, sketches, and then little annotations, question marks here, question marks there, happy face over here. So you've done a lot of notes, right? You come back, what do you do with it? You know, with something like this, it is very hard to, this can sit very neatly in your notebook, in your computer. Maybe you scan it and put it on your computer, but it needs to come out. It needs to come out and be around you so that you're thinking about it, you're reflecting on it, and it also needs to come out and be shareable among the team. So the entire team needs to be able to share this information. Maybe several of you have come back with several rounds of interviews, and how do you pull all that together to make it visible, to make it shareable, to make it something that is in the front of everyone's consciousness, right? So that's what we're going to learn how to do. So what did we, the list in trying to understand what problems did we find? These are the things on the basis of which we have come back with data. What did we learn about the actual needs of people? The actual needs of people. What did we learn about their actual pain points? Pain points is the starting or the impetus for your design. Their pain is your opportunity for design. Okay? Next is, what is the actual context in which our solution must fit, right? So the needs, the pain points, what is the actual context? So now you have a sense, having gone to the user's context, of if you create a design, what is the environment in which it must live? How does it fit into their life, right? So make a list of all those problems, of all these, the needs, the pain points, the contexts, etc. Make a list of all of those, right? And then what do you do? How do you make a list? Or from that list that you may make a running list, but after that what do you do? How do you make it shareable and something that can be in your everyday sort of path of interaction? Again, post-it notes. I spoke to you about them yesterday. These are very, very powerful tools, and I would encourage you to start using them. You have this long list of things that are sitting in your notebook. Start transcribing them onto post-it notes. Okay? And you come back as a team Maybe the team has gone in different directions and done user research and come, you've gone in twos, right? You come back and start transcribing those onto post-it notes. Each person is doing their post-it notes, okay? Each person is writing their post-it notes. And as I told you yesterday, the post-it notes are very useful in that you write one issue on one post-it note, okay? And then it makes it very easy to put it all out and to share and discuss, to move them around and to cluster them and to make groups and pairs and all kinds of things. So that is the power of taking your research and putting it into a form that makes it possible to take it then to the next level, to in order to see the patterns, because now analysis means from the research you should be able to extract patterns. You should be able to see certain things naturally clustering together and naturally forming groups, okay? So that natural forming of groups is easily done with post-it notes. So this is what you do. Write what you heard and saw, only one issue on one post-it, and write individually. This is something that you, if you're working in a team, do it individually. Don't do it, no discussions. Everyone write their thoughts on the post-it. Time for discussion is later, right? So now you're capturing all the stories that your users told you. You're capturing the user stories. And then you're going to be forming themes. These are your user stories, okay? And from these will emerge certain themes. And this will naturally happen. You must begin to see a theme amidst all the user stories you hear. That is the analysis for design, okay? That is where you're trying to now draw conclusions, draw broad generalizations from all the smaller little pieces of information that you find. So if you remember, by hanging around the reception at the corporation office, by watching and listening, this was the long list of things we found that people are asking for, right? So after coming back and taking that and trying to make sense of it, we figured that there are, among others, this is 3 types of people that I'm presenting to you. There's a group of senior citizens that comes there, and what are the things they are interested in, the kind of things they're interested in. There are journalists who come there. What are the kind of information that they are interested in? And then other citizens that come, what are the kind of information that they are interested in? You can see how this has moved from this long random list to something that is more sense making, that is something that is more categorized and classified information, okay? Now, while we're talking about this, I'd like to share with you during the work on this project about what we found about how do citizens view government information, right? How is government information presented to citizens? It is typically presented to reflect the internals of the organization. So it's organized by departments, and that department is what is that's the view that is shown to the public, right? But what do people want? What do people expect, right? So there's these 3 views. There is the department view. I have a problem with the roads, I have a problem with slums, with taxes. So each of these are departments in the corporation, and that is the view that is reflected to citizens today. What do the wards want? The wards would like this to be decentralized, so they are interested in a ward view. To which ward do I belong? Where is my ward office? Can I do this work in my ward? Who is my ward officer? This is the view that they would like to push. What do the citizens want? What do people want? I want to find information on property tax. I want to complain about too much noise in my neighborhood, or whatever it is. I want to apply for a restaurant license. This is the view of citizens. Now, coincidentally, I found there's a research that was done by the government of New Zealand, right? And likewise, these are all their departments, and this is what was presented to the public. This became the public-facing interface for their government as well, which was the internal departments were shown to the public. Now, they went through this whole research, and this is what they were trying to research. How do people think about government information, and how would they group it and categorize it? Okay? Now, this is how people think about it in terms like driving and transport, history and culture, families, travel and immigration. They do not view it as grouped by government department. It's not how people actually think, as grouped by government department. So this is yet another example of trying to uncover what is people's mental model, because they are the ultimate users of this information. How do they view it? How do they want to see it? How would they feel it to be natural, to be intuitive, if the information were presented in this way? So what do we do now? Now that from the field, we've taken all our notes and then we've transcribed it onto these post-it notes. One issue, one thought only on one post-it. And many of us, let's say there's a team of 5 of you, 6 of you, each one has gone and done this. And you've come back with all these lots of post-it notes, right? You have many issues and thoughts. What do you do with it? So then you start putting them up like this. You put them up, maybe you add photos that you took in order to add more information to it, and then you start to put them up and discuss them. You can see everyone's, you have one view based on the 4 or 5 users you may have interviewed. Someone else comes back with theirs and someone else comes back with theirs. Now everything's up on the board over here like this. And then you can start to see some of the patterns emerging and you're able to pull them together. Okay, so this is a very useful exercise in transforming huge amounts of information into sense-making groups, and also it is a great way to display the information and for everyone to understand what all the issues were. Okay. Now here's another example. Google Hangouts was doing a study, and they wanted to understand the millennial mindset towards Google Hangouts. Okay, they wanted to understand the millennial mindset. So what did they do? They did some interviews with the millennials, and what kind of questions did they ask? What Google products do you use regularly? How many hours a day do you spend on your computer? What do you use it for? What is the first word or short phrase that comes to mind to describe Google Hangouts? You can see this is not a surface level question. These were, if you remember, the initial sort of warm-up questions where, you're just asking more mechanical, tactical questions. Here you're trying to understand more the user's thinking, their thought framework. So what's the first word that comes to mind to describe Google Hangouts? What is the first word or short phrase that comes to mind to describe Google? How do you use Google Hangouts? In which form? What else do you use to communicate with friends, family, and colleagues, right? So this is a good way to, that they found that they used all these questions to try and understand what is in the mind of these millennials and what is their sort of expectations of Google Hangouts. They came back with all these clusters. They came back with all these issues that they've then put on post-its, that they've then put clustered together, and then they have certain labels that they've given to it. On Gmail desktop a lot, Google Hangout faults, then ideas for the future, etc. So we have themed our user interviews now. We have taken our user interviews, and these are the overall themes that have started to emerge out of them. Okay, because we saw that this is a general theme that is reflective of all these issues. This is a theme that is reflective of all these issues. So we started with interview, and then the interview notes. Then we transcribed those notes on Post-its. Then we highlighted some of the key ideas. And then we wrote those on Post-its. Then we arranged them in groups, and then we named the group. Okay? So this whole process of taking from a written text to highlighting it, to writing it on Post-its, and then to placing them all together, and then pulling all the ones that are similar and come together as clusters, and then finally naming the group. The name of the group is the theme. That theme is what is going to be your guideline for design. These kind of themes that Gmail desktop a lot, social aspect, these become your themes, which will become very important aspects in starting your design. So a day in the life of a user is a good way for you to try and step into, based on all that you've heard, to step back and say, this is the kind of user we are talking about. What is their day like, right? From morning to evening, what happens in their day? And in this particular example, we were trying to understand the integration of technology in their lives. What is their day like, right? So let's look at an example. We were working on the design of a basic tablet that is coming out in the market. There are several of them out in the market, low-cost tablets that perhaps are going into the lives of various people with limited technology exposure, limited literacy. For example, we took up the fruit wala. So what would their needs be? What would be a way to design in order to service their needs, right? So that the problem was in that general domain. So in the process of that project, this is what arrived at as a day in the life of a fruit wala. So you can see, let's go through this, you'll understand. He wakes up early in the morning, he packs his fruits, he goes to his fixed place of business. He arranges his fruits in an order while waiting for the customer, right? He reads the newspaper in his free time. He starts his business with cash transaction, okay? Then a credit customer comes. He writes the details in his khata. Then comes a known customer who wants to start his new credit khata, okay? The fruit wala writes his name in a new page and starts writing credits, okay? Another customer comes who gives him cash in advance, and the fruit wala writes his name in his khata. He goes somewhere to take his lunch after handing over his business to some friends. He plans to go to the mandi, all right? Lack of money reminds him about a customer with huge credit, right? So one customer then comes and gives him money for previous purchases. He corrects his khata. He listens to music on his phone for some time. He sells to some more customers. He starts packing his business. He calculates his balance and then goes back home, okay? Right. So if you look through this, write-up, you can see how it's giving you a picture of what are the different transaction, business-related activities that he's typically going through. How does his khata work? How does the credit and debit and cash and all those things work? What are the different kinds of customers he has? And how does he, also, what does he do in his free time? So at the end of this whole process, after we went through the design and everything, we came up with a really interesting solution that took his khata and tried to make it into something that he could digitally perhaps use within the limits of his technology abilities. So this is a good example of how you take a domain and then put yourself into the shoes. Now this is again based on a lot of interviews that were done with not just one but with several fruit walas, okay? And based on that you've tried to create a story which is called a day in the life of a fruitwala. And you saw in one of the persona templates where there is a place to put a day in the life, right? So this is another interesting one. Now I'd like to share with you another tool which is called customer journeys. Okay, you may have heard about it. It's being used a lot and it's becoming very popular because it's visually able to give you a picture of your customer's journey as they navigate through your through your ordering the product from your company, or setting up the machine that you have delivered to them, or any of that journey of the customer. So this is one example. I'll show you a few examples. So this is an example that is documenting the experience of Jim and Pam, a couple who want to go on vacation. They both work and live with their dog Poncho, and this map will be used to help a travel site to make their travel experience better. So what is the process they go through? First is research, then is preparation, then is booking, then is leaving for their trip, then is the actual vacation, then is returning, and then is sharing their what happened. So under research, what happens? They decide where to go, where to stay, how to get there, what to do over there. Preparation is find a hotel, find flights, etc. Take time off from work, get traveler's check. Booking is purchase the flight, get the itinerary. Leaving is putting the dog in the kennel. Remember, they have a dog. Then driving to the airport, get on the airplane, check into the hotel in the vacation, go and have fun, take photos, eat dinners, and then returning to the airport, flying home, getting the dog back from the kennel, unpacking, and then sharing. Finally is uploading the photos, talking to friends about it, and then rating the vacation. Okay. Now next, what is done? This is another, this is one way to do it, of course. There's an experience chart. The blues are telling you the fun that they had, greens are telling you the frustrations that they went through, and the yellow is telling you the mental focus, the mental load that they went through. So each of these phases, through this plotting, you can see which ones had the most blues, which ones had the most greens, the frustrations, and which ones had the most yellows. Okay, and then of course the client involvement, in this case the travel agent or whatever, how much were they involved in this whole process. Okay, so this is a customer journey map which visually is giving you a representation at a glance of the entire journey of what a customer has gone through. Okay. A customer experience map, and this is from Intuit, that has a product that is for small businesses, helping them do financial planning and financial taxes and all that. So this helps. This is another way to do a customer journey map. Opportunities and threats to customer experience in our customer service process. For example, filing tax returns. So this is, the steps that they go through: shop and try, then start trying to file their tax returns, then chat with the operator who possibly is going to be giving them helpful or not so helpful information, then schedule a meeting, a phone, then wait and wonder what's happening with the phone meeting, then actually have the phone meeting, then again wait and wonder what's happening to all the documents they submitted and all the inputs that they gave and all that. Then they go through an approval, and then they finish e-filing their taxes. Now, important thing to note in all this is these facial expressions. This is capturing the emotions of the experiences that the user went through. So such a journey map is a very, very nice way, again at a glance, to say, okay, this is one very low point. If we were, the service provider, this is another low point. We really need to improve our service in these places. Okay, and they've also captured places where the customer possibly might drop off, disconnect from the service and go away. Here's another customer experience map, and this is plotted in another different way, where this is labeled as horrible, then bad, then neutral, satisfy, gratify, very gratifying. And this is the huge chain of furniture, of furniture stores, IKEA, that has tried to capture all their customers' experience going through the store location and appearance, car park, indoor decoration, shopping, round tour, price, this, that, all these different factors. So at a glance, then as a company, it gives them an opportunity to say, hey, we need to improve these things, right? So this is a very powerful tool, again, to be able to take your all your research and then put it in one visual, in one in a chart or in a paper, something that can be printed out and put up on the board, right? And then you can keep tracking it, keep looking at it. Here's another one that was done by one of the students over here, and this is for the adventure travel site that I spoke to you about. So again, 3 months before, and again you can see this is expressed a little differently. This is expressed with more text, right? These are the activities that they're doing before the vacation. So 3 months before, what are they doing? 2 months before, what are they doing? During the actual journey, and then recording what was their overall experience like. Then they've captured the duration of each of how much time they spent on this, the costs, the opportunities. So what are the opportunities for design? Provide them with options of activities according to their taste, right? Give people more options so they're able to, this was a shortcoming in one of the earlier versions of the design. Provide them with options of places according to their taste. Proper guidance, how about weather conditions. Weather conditions is something that the team did not realize that how important that information was for users, right? And then plotting the level of satisfaction about the user's level of satisfaction, okay? So that brings us to the end of the subsection on user stories and themes, where we learned how to take all those user stories and put them together, make themes, and as a group how we can look at it, look at the clusters, and then understand what is the direction we need to take. We also understood how do we write a day in the life of our user, and then how, using that, we could possibly plot a map of their journey in their interaction with our product or our service. And how do we represent that visually so that at a glance we are very clear about what's working well, what is not working well, through capturing the user's activities, experiences, emotions, and so on and so forth. Okay?